This is the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Welcome to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. I'm your host, Mason Choate, joined by Robert Stewart and Christian Cheetham. All right, guys, so the season is over, and there's not really, there's nothing to talk about as far as gameplay goes, but the MLB Draft just happened, and 9 Razorbacks were taken. We're saying 9, even though Mark Adamiak transferred to Missouri. Word was, he's a Razorback until he plays for Missouri.
Throws a pitch for Missouri.
Yeah, so we're counting Mark Adamiak. That's 9 players from Arkansas drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. Some guys that weren't drafted that we thought were going to be drafted. I get the age thing with Lanzilli, but
that's the only thing with him.
It is, and I've talked to some people and they're a little confused as to why he wasn't drafted. I know he's talking to some teams. He hasn't signed with anyone as of this recording, but
he led the College World Series in home runs.
He did. He led Arkansas in batting average. He led the third best team in all of college baseball in batting average.
That's not insignificant.
And on base percentage, I think. I think he led the team in on-base percentage.
It was either him or Webb.
Hey, I know it's been a while since we've been in the studio, Robert, but you have to talk into the mic. Yes.
Readjust here.
There you
just
go.
For you.
Christian's over here. Christian?
53 college bombs.
53 college bombs. He hit over 300 in his college career, didn't he?
Yep, 305.
For two Power 5 teams in 2 Power 5 conferences. So it's like, I really don't. That's the one that I don't understand. Brady Slavins wasn't drafted as well. I get Cole Ramage. I understand that one.
Yeah, Lanzilli did lead the team in OBP.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And that's no like slight to Cole Ramage, by the way. He just, he doesn't fit the mold of a guy that's going to be drafted.
Correct.
Especially given his age. I think he was a 6-year senior, right?
He's even older than Lanzilli, I think. Yeah.
So that was really the only one that I wasn't surprised about. But let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the guys that were drafted, starting with Caden Wallace.
Boy, that was a long wait to hear his name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're all in Zoom together, waiting for old Caden Wallace, old number 7, to hear his name called. And
was it 50 overall?
49.
49.
We were thinking it was going to be, once he started falling, we were like, okay, it's either 49 to Kansas City or 50 to Colorado, because the Rockies had 2 picks in the 30s, I think, that they passed him on.
And those were 2 teams that had looked at Wallace in the pre-draft process, according to my sources. And I think that both of those teams had set themselves up where their previous draft pick before Wallace was more of an underslot guy, so they could take an overslot guy like Wallace, who's going to be asking for more money later on. And I think the Royals, they only had 2 picks on day 1, so it really worked out well for them. Works out well for Arkansas fans. You get to watch him in Springdale at some point. I would assume he makes it to AA.
And you'd have to think that Dayton Moore knows what he's getting in Caden Wallace.
Yeah. I played the bit again of
Robert Moore's dad.
Yeah. And it's just so funny that I to this day, like, I could tweet it out right now. Like, no way Robert Moore's dad is the GM of the Royals. Or I guess he's president now. I think he's the president. He's not the GM anymore.
Baseball ops president.
Yeah, there you go. In the front office.
And I would still have people in my mentions like, where have you been? What rock have you been living under? And it's like, are you serious? And so
you're going to have to start tweeting /S under every single post you make.
I guess.
That's sarcastic.
I don't know. But yeah, Caden Wallace, I'm happy because I root for the Royals. That's my Major League Baseball team that I root for. I would not say I'm a diehard Royals fan. But it is exciting because I can get a jersey of my favorite team with Caden Wallace.
I recall you saying earlier this year that the floor for this team was the World Series.
Yeah. Well, that was obviously a joke because the Royals suck. They're about to trade away Andrew Benintendi too. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, but
well, the deadline's August 2nd. They got some time.
Yeah. So then I guess should we talk about signees later or should we mention
Well, let's just go down the list.
Okay. Yes, Christian.
No, you're good.
Okay. So number 57 to the Braves, Cole Phillips, right-hand pitcher out of Bjorn High School. He's a signee. He's going to sign with the Braves. He will not make it on campus.
I think he was a top 40 player according to Perfect Game nationally.
Something like that. I know he was one of those guys that of the Arkansas signees that was expected to get drafted. There were really just 3 of them. And
Right. He was one of the 5 in Perfect Game's top 100. I know that.
And then Peyton Paulette, number 62, to the Chicago White Sox. That's about where we expected. As far as like projections going into the draft, it felt like Paulette was in that 40 to 70 range.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy John Peyton Paulette coming off of Tommy John being a second-round pick anyway just goes to show that teams aren't really scared of that anymore. I mean, we saw Landon Sims from Mississippi State go ahead of him, right?
Yeah. And I think
he probably wasn't the only pitcher that was hurt.
Well,
either.
that's another thing that maybe we should clarify for some listeners who maybe don't understand. Tommy John is not a big deal anymore, and most pitchers have to get it nowadays. Like at some point, a pitcher's gonna get it. And I saw a lot of people commenting on social media when Paulette got drafted that they were surprised that he was, getting drafted so high because of his injury, and it's like that's not a surprise anymore.
I mean, if you were paying attention to draft boards, which like I don't blame you if you're not, but if you were paying attention to draft boards throughout the season, even after January, like you saw his name was floating in the top 2 rounds.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about the projections as much as it's about people don't understand that Tommy John is not a huge deal.
I think for Arkansas fans, it's just they didn't see him pitch at all this year. So they're like, how's he getting drafted this high? But
well, that and his numbers weren't exactly attractive in 2021.
No,
small sample size.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that they're drafting him based off of what he can be and not what he has been.
Right. I mean, you think about it. He was supposed to be Arkansas's ace, so ignore everything else. You think about the Razorbacks ace. That's probably a guy you want to draft, right?
Yeah. So moving along, this one kind of caught us off guard. I don't know why. We should have expected it. Didn't have a story written. I don't know why. It's just so. Here's the thing for those listening that have listened throughout the season. I've taken over as managing editor for HawgBeat.com. Andrew Hutchinson has moved on to a separate website. We're still available on the HawgBeat YouTube. Technically, I guess this episode is going to go out on Hit That Line. I haven't talked to Ty Richardson, but I'll email it to him. So you can find us on the Hit That Line podcast network as well. We didn't have a story written. Robert joined me over at HawgBeat, and he was helping out with the draft coverage. You can go to HawgBeat.com, by the way. I have a full story with every Razorback-related player that was drafted, along with every single SEC player that was drafted. So go check it out on HawgBeat.com. It's titled, let's see, Tracking Diamond Hogs SEC Players in the 2022 MLB Draft.
And within that story are links to the stories I wrote, I believe.
Yes. Robert Moore, number 72 to the Milwaukee Brewers.
I didn't see him going on day 1.
I didn't either. And it's not a huge surprise because it kind of same thing as Peyton Paulette.
Right, it's potential, right?
You know what the potential is. They drafted him as a shortstop as well, by the way.
Correct.
I mean, defensively, he is a major league defender.
He's that guy.
The bat is what he's really going to have to work on. This past season, he hit, 232, I think it was?
I mean, he lost 51 points on his batting average between
and
21
a lot of home
22.
runs, too.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something that he's going to have to get better at. But it makes sense that the Brewers took him. There's probably a lot of talk amongst Major League Baseball front office people, and I'm sure Dayton Moore was talking up his son. I'm sure a lot of other people were talking up his son. And so Robert Moore goes to the Brewers, and that rounded out day 1 of the Major League Baseball draft for the Razorbacks. So 3 players drafted, 1 signee. About what we expected, right? I mean, we didn't really expect anything else. I mean, I guess Mason Neville and Jason Jones were 2 guys that could have been taken on day 1, but we weren't really expecting it.
It's the signees. That's the biggest takeaway of the draft for me is that only 1 signee will not come to campus.
Exactly. Of the freshman guys, yeah.
Right.
We got to talk about transfers too, but we're going to talk about that on a separate episode with Kevin Bohannon.
Right.
This is really just MLB Draft. So moving along, number 140 overall. I don't have rounds. I should have put rounds, but
Pretty sure.
I think this was the 4th round.
It was 4th or 5th.
Because it's 80 on the first day, so 110, 140.
I bet it was 5th because
What 81st pick would have been the first pick of the third round?
Well, but they did another comp round, one of those comp rounds.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
Sorry for the lack of preparedness.
Well, I've got the list in front of me. I just didn't put rounds.
Yeah.
Anyways, number 140 to the White Sox, joining Peyton Paulette, Jordan Sprinkle, shortstop out of UC Santa Barbara.
Fourth round.
In the fourth round. He was a transfer commit to Arkansas. This was a guy that I had heard from people that he was going to be a great replacement for Jalen Battles. I'm not going to say he was going to be as good as Jalen Battles, but he would have really helped out in the lack of Jalen Battles being there at shortstop.
By the way, he was the 140th overall prospect on MLB.com, the 131st overall draft pick.
Wait, Sprinkle?
Yes.
Sprinkle was 131?
Yeah.
Why'd I put 140?
Because because MLB's draft tracker lists pick and then rank, sort of like a fantasy football draft, right?
Oh. Let me fix that as we're talking right now. Okay, number 131, Jordan Sprinkle.
I was wondering because I thought the White Sox were toward the back of the order, but 140 to 164 didn't make enough difference.
Yeah. Let me get back to this story now. 131. I'm sorry, Jordan Sprinkle. That's my bad.
Fourth round selection of the Chicago White Sox. The Sox ended up loading up on Arkansas-related folks.
They did. Moving forward, number 164 to the Tampa Bay Rays, Jalen Battles. This one was one that some people were a little confused about because apparently the Rays are really set up at shortstop. So, but, baseball's a weird sport.
I mean, maybe they're buyers at the trade deadline this year. Maybe they're gonna sell a bunch of their prospects and gear up for a World Series run this year.
Yeah, the Rays aren't afraid to move prospects or package them for like a pitcher or something. So they do have a lot of infielders, but we'll see where Battles ends up in the system.
Take that from a Red Sox fan. He watches the AL East closely, so there you go.
Well, I think the Rays also took a shortstop before Battles in that draft. That's what I'm trying to find it right here. Oh, how did the Rays do in the draft? Let's see. Brock Jones, second round. They took Chandler Simpson in the CBA round B, pick number 70. He's a shortstop / second baseman from Georgia Tech.
They took Ryan Cermak the very next pick, guy from Illinois State.
Yeah, Ryan Cermak, who I thought I heard they drafted him as a shortstop.
Well, the MLB Draft Tracker certainly said shortstop.
Okay, so and then Battles. So that's three shortstops.
Three shortstops in their first
5 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
7 picks?
6, 7 picks, yeah.
Because they had 2 picks in competitive balance round B, which was so there were those 2 shortstops taken and then Robert Moore.
So that's why I'm a little confused about that. But I mean, Jalen Battles, he's an elite defender. Really helped himself out at the plate this past season. So moving on, number 262 to the Miami Marlins, Evan Taylor, left-hand pitcher out of Arkansas.
Back-to-back Connor Nolan.
And then very next pick, Chicago Cubs, Connor Nolan.
Felt like there were a lot of back-to-back from schools picks. I don't know.
I think Kentucky had one.
Kentucky had one. I know that. Anyway, that's good for those 2 seniors out of Arkansas. We were thinking Nolan might be back for year number 5, but if he's a top 10 round pick, take that money.
Really happy for Evan Taylor though, to get drafted top 10 rounds. So
Evan Taylor,
who made an appearance on the
podcast.
Diamond Hogs podcast.
Yes.
So Evan Taylor is the first player from the University of Arkansas to be drafted after being a guest on the Diamond Hogs podcast.
And you think about it, we almost had Connor Nolan too, and Vermillion in the same episode.
Almost. But another Diamond Hogs podcast guest, the next pick.
Back-to-back in the 9th and 10th rounds.
Huh? Oh, yeah, okay. Number 281 to the Chicago White Sox, Michael Turner. First guest on the Diamond Hogs podcast this season.
The inaugural Diamond Hogs podcast guest.
Yes, the very first player guest on the Diamond Hogs podcast, Michael Turner. Very happy for Michael Turner. He's going to be a Chicago White Sox. Is that the proper way to say it? He's going to be a White Sox?
What is the singular of Sox? SOX.
Christian, you would know. You're a Red Sox fan.
I've seen people say Sox.
I know people say Sox, but I'll say he's a Red Sox. or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
I would say
Red Sox player.
So he's a White
Sox
Sox?
player.
Yeah.
I would, if I were writing, I would call him a White Sox player.
Say the player, yeah, add that to it, yeah.
Either way, Michael Turner to the White Sox.
Or he's heading to the South Side.
Yes, whatever. Next pick, another guest of the Diamond Hogs podcast, number 299 to the New York Mets, Zebulon Vermillion. A lot of Mets fans were happy about this because they'd never heard his name before, and they're like, holy crap, we just got ourselves a guy.
That's what you're going to get.
If you're a Mets fan and this is all you know about Zebulon Vermillion, is his name is Zebulon Vermillion, and he can throw anywhere from 95, 98 on the fastball, and he's like, what, 6'4", got a big old beard. You think he's going to be like the next great New York Mets pitcher. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm very happy for Zebulon Vermillion. I think Arkansas didn't use him as much as they could have.
It will be interesting to see if his minor league managers use him in a different way than Dave Van Horn did.
Yes. I mean, it's a lot. He was basically the Ryan Costu of the Razorback pitching staff this past year. And apparently Costu was tearing it up with the Angels organization at some point this season. I haven't checked to see how he's doing right now.
Well, good for him.
I'm actually going to look it up right now.
So that wrapped up day 2, right? Because that was round 10. And that marked 8 Hogs off the board, which was the most through 10 rounds in program history.
Ryan Costu in high A ball has a 3.42 ERA, 3.5. He's 3-5. He's started 10 games. Wow. He's got 81 strikeouts compared to 19 walks and a 1.16 whip. Anyways.
Yeah.
Highest number of
8 and 10 rounds.
Highest number of Razorbacks drafted through 10 rounds in program history, which feels significant, right? Anyway, moving on.
What was the record? Was it 8 or 9?
I think it was 6 was the record.
Oh, the record before was 6.
They set the record with 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
6. I think they had 6 last year, and that was the record.
Who had the record? Vanderbilt?
No, this is a program.
Program.
Oh. I thought you were talking about like college.
No.
No, I retweeted
What's
something.
the most from like any college at once?
In the first 10 rounds?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I retweeted something along those lines. It's not exactly what you're talking about, but most draft picks by a school this year: Oklahoma 11, Tennessee 10, Arkansas 9.
Wow.
That's counting Mark Adamiak, who was taken day 3. The only guy to go day 3. No Chris Lanzilli, no Brady Slavins.
Which blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Somebody DM me, and I'm not going to out him. He DM'd me, and he was like, I can't believe that Adamiak was taken and Miller Plyman wasn't. And I was like, Miller Plyman retired.
I mean, we saw more of Mark Adamiak than Miller Plyman, and we didn't see that much Mark Adamiak.
Here's the thing about Mark Adamiak. He was going to pitch at Missouri.
Everybody kind of wrote him off.
Well, he's going to sign because why would you go pitch at Missouri? So that's what I have to say about that. Day 3, Julian Bosnick taking number 410 overall by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He is a transfer commitment out of South Carolina. Left-hand pitcher. Would be a big deal if he doesn't sign and he comes to Arkansas. That's a guy that you need to be looking out for if he signs or not. If he gets on campus to Arkansas, that pitching staff is going to be loaded.
I remember watching him, probably talking about him on this podcast when the Hogs were in Columbia in 2021. As I recall, he was pretty impressive during that series. Cox gave the Hogs a run for their money.
He didn't give up a run. I actually wrote about it.
Against the number 1 ranked Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yep. Let me see here. As a red shirt, no. In a meeting against Arkansas on April 23rd, 2021, Bosnick threw 2 2/3 innings, walked 4, struck out 6, and allowed 1 run.
6 of the 8 outs he recorded were on strikes.
Yeah.
Walked 4. That's a lot of batters.
Yeah, but only giving up 1 run, that's fine. If you walk 4 and you only give up 1 run.
Yeah, damage control.
But yeah, Julian Bosnick, be looking out for him. Follow me on Twitter at Choate Mason. I'll keep you updated. Number 454 to the Oakland Athletics, not Zach Gregory, Mark Adamiak, right-hand pitcher from Missouri, but apparently we're saying he's a right-hand pitcher from Arkansas because he hasn't played for Missouri yet. How do you? Okay,
I would agree with that assessment.
what? Because
I like that logic. Yeah.
If you look at his Twitter, right?
His Twitter says Missouri baseball.
What's his pinned tweet?
His photo, I know, is still in an Arkansas jersey, right?
His pinned tweet.
Because he hasn't put on a Missouri.
He's not on
jersey.
campus yet, so he hasn't had a picture yet. So that means he's not really there.
His pinned tweet.
It's not real yet.
Is his announcement to go play at Arkansas. His last tweet is.
Well, now it
from the
says
last
Oakland
time.
A's organization. So,
Well,
so
there-
he
So I
signed.
guess
there
he's
you
not
go.
going to
Well, there you
Missouri.
go. Yeah.
He signed.
Let's not. There's nothing. There's
So
nothing
he's Arkansas.
anymore.
So he's Arkansas.
There's
then.
nothing anymore that indicates he plays for Missouri. So
He never made an announcement about it either. He just put
what I'm
Missouri
saying.
baseball in his
his
bio.
last tweet was like whenever the last time he pitched for the Hogs was.
But he had Missouri baseball in his bio. Whatever.
Hashtag Pro Hogs.
He plays for the Oakland A's. So technically he never played for Missouri. Then should I change my story
Yes,
now?
you should.
Okay. Because
Very productive podcast.
Your
episode today.
readers are gonna get
I hope that whatever.
Just
freaking
live
whatever.
up-to-date
Right?
articles,
Picture,
yeah.
Arkansas. This is the life of being a journalist. Is am I getting things right or not?
Yeah,
That's our biggest job is to get things right, and I've gotten 2 things wrong already.
I'm gonna have to fire you.
You don't have the power to fire me.
It's a joke.
Okay. And then last was number 543, 18th round to the Cincinnati Reds. Mason Neville.
Is that how we're pronouncing it?
I think it's
Neville.
Neville.
I would
I say
think
Neville.
I would think Neville.
Mason Neville.
I think it's Neville. Yeah.
That's fine. Mason Neville. But he announced that he's...
Hopefully he corrects me, and you were right the whole time.
Okay, well, stop talking. He announced that he is going to be attending the University of Arkansas. He is not going to be a guy that because of age he's 2 years. I have heard that he will be at the very least a 3-year player at Arkansas. So that's huge.
MLB on this draft tracker has him listed as the 102nd best available player, and he was drafted at 543. So figured the Reds were just hoping that he wanted some money. If they're going to pick him that low, figure you hope that he wants some money, because surely at that value he should have gone higher. And once he started to fall, teams realized he probably wants to go to Arkansas.
Yeah. So as far as that goes, he got drafted, but he will be a Hog. Jason Jones, who I think is the number 1 prospect in this recruiting class for Arkansas, he announced that he's going to not sign with a Major League Baseball team as an undrafted free agent, and he will attend the University of Arkansas. Can freshmen do that?
It seems incredibly silly for me to me that any high school player would sign undrafted.
But can they do that? I don't know.
I guess you can, but why would you? Like, the money can't be that good. And I mean, think about it. If you're going to go to college, I feel like all the college baseball broadcasts I watch early in the season, they're talking about how much better it is, or how much more likely a player is to get drafted after spending 2-3 years in college. Like, there was a perfect example. What's the guy's name? Bennett, the Nationals' 2nd-round pick this year. He's a left-handed pitcher from Oklahoma. Jake Bennett. He got drafted. This was before the draft shrunk to 520 rounds. This was 2019, the last 40-round draft. He was taken out of high school in the 39th round, not overall, by the Nationals. He passed, went to OU, made it to the College World Series this year. This year he goes 45th overall, 2nd round to the Nationals. So I don't see a point of going that late or signing undrafted when you could go to college, make yourself some more money, especially now with NIL in the picture, right?
Somebody tweeted out the breakdown of college players drafted compared to high school and JUCO guys. I can't find it, but I know that there were significantly more college players drafted.
Yeah.
And so it did feel like this draft specifically, teams went more college heavy than they normally do.
It took a while, but eventually, yeah.
Because I know, at least with the Royals, which was the only team that I was like paying attention to their picks, they're normally a high school heavy team. But I think they might have drafted only 1 or 2 high school guys. I think they drafted all college guys. And so it is trending that way. I guess maybe because I really don't. There's so much that goes into the Major League Baseball draft.
Yeah, like day one, from what I've seen over the years, like day one's mainly like the top high school guys are going to get picked.
Right.
And then obviously the top college guys. But the only reason they're drafting those high school guys that early is because they need to lure them with the money, like take them away from their college programs that they're committed to. Like the Red Sox, for example, I know we're all talking about our MLB teams now. The Red Sox drafted a couple shortstops from California who were committed to like LSU, I think Texas, and one more, I think like West Coast school. But that's the reason you take those guys in the early rounds is to offer them the most money you possibly can to steal them away from the college programs.
Right.
And when you take a flyer on Neville in the 19th round, you're just mainly, I think they're just trying to develop a relationship with him moving forward because, like you said, the Nationals picked a high school guy. 3 years later, they pick him again.
Well, an example of that is the team out of high school that was going to sign Caden Wallace was the Kansas City Royals, and here they are. 2 years later now, they drafted him in the second round, and they gave him like double the money. So,
good point by me.
Go to college, kids.
Yeah, good point by you, Christian. That's one of the only valuable things you've given to this podcast over this season. Zach Morris, left-hand pitcher, he announced he will return to Arkansas and not sign as an undrafted free agent. So really the guys that we're keeping an eye on are Bosnick, who was drafted. We're going to see if he signs. Chris Lanzilli, we want to see where he signs, but he doesn't have eligibility.
Yeah.
Brady Slavins is the name, along with Bosnick.
Could return.
He has another year. He hasn't been signed by anybody as of the recording of this podcast. He could return for another year. I don't know how much it would help him as far as getting drafted next year, but I really think that's just a decision of, does he want to come back and play another year in college, or does... I feel like right now he's in the Matt Goodhart situation. We should have Goodhart. We should call Goodhart right now and be like, what is Brady Slavins going through?
And he's boys with Brady Slavins too, didn't he say?
Yeah. Should I text him?
Yeah, go ahead and text him, and then I'll say one thing. Do you want to tell the listeners that Connor Nolan is not coming back, just to let them know again? Because I saw you guys on Twitter.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Well, and I saw the stat. It was like, of the 312 players drafted in the first 10 rounds last year, 309 signed, I think. And one of them was Fabian from Florida, who should have signed. The other was Kumar Rocker, who the Mets just didn't sign him. And then there were like I think there were maybe 1 or 2 high school guys. So
Connor Nolan's a pick value signing bonus. If you just look at the pick value, it's $164,500.
yeah. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
My question is, I mean, how old is he right now?
Connor Nolan?
Yeah.
Let's look it up.
He's a senior, so the longer he stays in college, the less attractive he becomes to Major League Baseball teams.
Connor
If he spent, what could he accomplish in a fifth year at Arkansas? He's 23 right now. What could he accomplish in his age 24 season in college?
Well, dang it, Robert. If he comes back to Arkansas, Walmart's going to sign him to an NIL deal for $5 million. That's what it is everybody thinks that no one's going to come back and make more in an NIL deal playing baseball for the Razorbacks than he would make signing with a Major League Baseball team.
He is not... I don't... This is no disrespect to Connor Nolan, but I don't think he's going to do something so spectacular that he will boost his draft stock even more than it already. I mean, he got picked in the top 10 rounds. That's an achievement. Like
Robert Stewart, known Connor Nolan hater.
Okay.
Minor league baseball isn't the University of Arkansas, but it's definitely getting better. Like the pay is getting better. This bonus will help whatever he gets in his slot.
Sounds like Rob Manfred might be under fire for what he said the other day too about. Did you hear him? He said in my opinion, minor leaguers are making a livable wage, and then you have guys like Eric Cole tweeting, "I made $11,000 last year." So if there's pressure, then they'll bump it up even more.
Yeah,
but I get it. Look, I have always been the stay at school if you have the option, because especially at Arkansas, because the facilities are second to none, the atmosphere is second to none, the competition's really, really good. But age is such a big deal when it comes to getting drafted. Chris Lanzilli, one of the best college players out there, did not get drafted. I don't think it would be in Connor Nolan's best interest to stick around for a 5th season.
Yeah, he's not coming back. He's gonna sign. I mean, why are we having this conversation?
Because of the impersonation that you did.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I had the story written ready to go when he announced that he was coming back to school. So
you wasted your time,
You
sir.
had that ready, but not the Robert Moore.
That's
I'll take that one.
I'll tell you what, though. I had Hudson Polk transferring in. So
Catcher from Oklahoma.
Yeah, catcher from Oklahoma, who, according to most Arkansas fans, is probably the worst catcher in the history of baseball. So
none of it means anything until February anyway.
No. But that's where we're at right now. I guess Cole Ramage could sign with the team. I don't think anybody else. I mean, let me pull up the roster. I don't think anybody else is really someone that we're looking out for. All the freshmen are coming in, aside from Cole Phillips.
I was gonna say that somebody should sign Zach Gregory, but Zach Gregory needs to sign with a school.
Yeah.
He hasn't signed with a school yet, has he?
Oh, another guy who didn't get drafted, Braden Webb.
Right.
Braden Webb. I thought he might get drafted. Yeah. He didn't get drafted. He could sign somewhere, but he's out of eligibility. Cole Ramage, he's out. Isaac Bracken, didn't really expect him to get drafted. He's out of eligibility. Don't know what he's going to do. I mean, he could play indie ball. He might just retire. Plyman did retire. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now.
We'll do a deeper roster overhaul episode with old Coach Cabo later this summer.
Yes, and if you are curious about what the roster is going to look like, I do have stories over at HawgBeat.com about the turnover for the pitching staff and the batting lineup. Those are not updated with transfers that have happened since then, but I do have a transfer tracker also at HawgBeat.com tracking all of the transfers that come into Arkansas baseball. Looking out for one or two more maybe. They're going to have to bring in another catcher. That has to happen. They cannot, unless one of these guys transitions to catcher that is on the roster already, not on the roster from this past season, just of all the newcomers, everybody put together, and I don't know who would.
Who are the two guys' names right now? It's
Hudson Polk and Parker Rowland. Yes. The guy that we're looking out for is Paul Skeens from Air Force. He won't play catcher, even though he could. He will be the Friday night starter if he comes to Arkansas. I heard rumors that he might have been on campus recently. Does that mean he's coming to Arkansas? No. He might not have even been on campus. I don't know.
You're a terrible journalist.
That's
reporting this garbage.
That is the name to look out for. There's a couple of other guys. There was a guy, Colin Price. He played for Mercer, but he got drafted. He was a catcher name that I thought was interesting. Nate Thompson was following him on Twitter. But that's what we're going to look out for before we record our next episode, which is the roster turnover. And then we're going to hang it up until next baseball season. Well, we might do fall ball. We might do fall ball. I'll let you guys do fall ball because I'm going to be in the middle of football.
Ooh,
all right.
That would be
you
fun.
and me, Christian. Let's go.
I would love to. That would be so much fun.
So, yeah. You guys have anything else to add?
I miss baseball, man.
I prefer it this way when I love the sponsors because they paid for all of our crap, but it's so much better to just sit here and talk and not have to worry about reading an ad.
What did you guys think of the MLB Draft overall? Like the presentation of it, having it in LA?
The first two rounds took entirely too long.
Did you? Okay, some of the listeners might have heard this. There was a thing in the last round when Boston made their pick, and it was the funniest thing ever. Someone called in. I thought I took a picture of it. Like someone from the Boston organization called in. Here it is. And it was so funny to listen to it live. If you were listening to the audio of them announce the picks, the guy said the Red Sox would like to thank the draft for a well-run process. With that said, we'll draft. And then he leans over to whoever's next to him and he says, Who? And someone says, Connor Butler. And he goes, who? And someone says, Connor Butler. And he says, Connor Butt. And then the person in the background says, no, Butler. And he goes, you got to give me. And then the call cuts off. It was the funniest thing ever to just be listening. And he goes, Connor Butt. And that was it. It was,
poor Connor Butler, man.
I mean, poor Christian rooting for an organization that's run like that.
Yeah, I'm like I love the draft, so I'm so into it, and I follow like every Red Sox pick, And I don't know. I got a little underwhelmed with some of our picks, but who knows? I don't know anything. So, is there anyone that got drafted that you were like following, or like I saw Ivan Melendez get picked by the Diamondbacks? That was pretty cool.
Did we see Kumar Rocker going number 3?
Yeah, that was very surprising.
I think, and this has nothing to do with those guys. From my hometown, James Hicks, Conway, Arkansas. He was a pitcher at South Carolina. He had season-ending surgery. I don't think it was Tommy John, but it might have been. But he was taken in the 15th round.
UCA had someone too, right?
Yeah, UCA had someone, but Hicks was a weekend starter before he got hurt at South Carolina. It's just cool because coming out of high school, he was like a mid to low 80s fastball guy, and then he went to Crowder College, really worked on his stuff, transferred to South Carolina, and I graduated with the dude, played ball with him when I was younger, so it was kind of cool to see that happen.
Yeah, could have been you.
It could have been me if I would have played for UAPB. Yeah, if I would have played for UAPB, I could have gotten drafted. But
yeah, all the like the sons of former big leaguers, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Holiday and Jones right off the bat.
Yeah, it was.
Jackson Holiday looks like he's 12. By the way,
he does. Wow.
He's gonna be a baller though.
Speaking of players committed to schools, because Holiday was committed to Oklahoma State, Vanderbilt and LSU, they got shafted pretty bad with a lot of their guys.
That was something I wanted to circle back to.
I don't feel bad for LSU. I'm putting it out there. They're still going to be loaded next year.
They've made so many moves this offseason. The thing is, I was talking about how only one signee is not coming for Arkansas. Think about all the other schools in the SEC who have now lost, 3-4 signees.
I think in the first 40 picks, Vanderbilt had like 6 signees drafted.
Like I remember watching MLB Network on the first night, and Tony Vitello was on the desk helping out with coverage, and I was like, I bet he's over the moon seeing all these Vandy commits going in the first round.
And then he had a transfer commit, the guy from UConn, get drafted when he was on there. Yeah, that was.
But he was upset about that one.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job though. I mean,
that's enough Tony Vitello.
Yeah, see, I know Mason.
Gatekeeping Tony Vitello appreciation.
I do want to say this though. We talked. Christian and myself talked about this with Andrew Ellis from a website that will not be named. Arkansas does a really good job at bringing in freshmen that are really good, but not good enough to get drafted on day one and sign, or basically in the first 10 rounds. And I don't know if there's something to that or if that's just luck or what, but you got to think that a little bit of that is they know that these guys are probably going to make it on campus. And so I think that that's a really good way to go about things if you're Arkansas, and that's why they end up getting these freshman guys that can be really good,
Yeah.
I think Jason Jones and Mason Neville. Why did I say Neville again?
I don't know, but I have never heard a name spelled like that pronounced Neville.
In my head, I've been saying that. I think they could end up being like Heston Kjerstad and Casey Morton. I'm not going to say one of them is going to be the number 2 overall draft pick in the Major League Baseball draft, but two freshmen, same class, who can be really good starters.
What happened with Jason Jones' social media a couple of days ago?
I think it was a burner account.
No, it was his mom. It was a burner account for his mom, and it wasn't his actual mom.
It was the only tweet on that account's timeline. So
yeah, I've heard a lot of things about Jason Jones over the past few days, and I'm not going to repeat them on this podcast. All I'm going to say is that there's got to be a reason that he was so much of a highly touted prospect.
Let's start to make conclusions once we hit fall ball.
Yeah,
and then they won't mean anything still because we got to get to February.
Yeah. So, all right, boys, let's wrap it up.
Out of there.
We'll talk to everybody in our lineup episode with Kevin Bohannon, and then we'll be done for the season. I mean, we're basically done for the season already. This is just like summer content.
It's
all right.
Preview in 2023 time.
Subscribe to HawgBeat.com.
Do it.
You've been listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Choate Mason and at DRStew32.